How to build a bulletproof mindset. That's what we're discussing. It's primarily faith-based. This isn't an exercise to shove religion on you, faith on you, but nonetheless, it's for believers. For everybody else, it can at least serve as contrast, but things that I've done. Beat stage 4 cancer. I raced Ironman with a bone condition called avascular necrosis, which essentially means dead bones in my hips and my knees from chemotherapy. And I haven't touched a drink of alcohol in 6 years. Those are the things that I've done. They can't be taken from me. It took a certain mindset to accomplish them. So all I'm doing is trying to share. That's the purpose of this. I've got one story of one series of events in one mindset. And all it is trying to share it with you so you can at least understand where I come from and hopefully use it in your life for your goals. Now it starts with grace. Grace is just understanding that He has grace and He will provide you with things that you don't deserve, just like me. I'm provided plenty. I could flip this camera around and show you a house that I don't deserve. I could show you a lot that I don't deserve, a view that I don't deserve, and down the line. But nonetheless, He provided them anyway. So when you're talking about big goals and doing big things, and whether it's, this discussion can be broadened to employment, right? What do you want to do as a dad, as a mom? What you want to do for a job? Any of those things, any goal-related activity. But I suppose since this is a fitness account, we'll narrow the scope of the conversation to just that fitness. So if you want to do big things, you want to do Ironman, you want to do ultra races, those are your goals. It's important to understand that you are imperfect. And that's not a bad thing, because we all are. So it's not going to define you, and it's not going to prevent you from doing and achieving any of these goals. And it's also not going to prevent you from getting anything that you feel like you need to get from above. Which brings me to the next point. At least in my mentality, there's a verse that says, "You have not because you ask not." You have not because you ask not. What does that mean? That means that simply you can ask for anything. And He's listening and He'll largely grant it. The thing that you don't know is when it will occur. You don't know the time. You don't know the sequence. It may not be on your timeline or when you want it. But nonetheless, the things are generally going to come your way. And again, when it comes to goal setting, and when it comes to doing these big things, when it comes to beating cancer, and when it becomes racing Ironman, when you're not supposed to even hardly move, when you put down alcohol for 6 years, those are monumental tasks. Those are monumental asks. And that's exactly what it is. Step one is just simply ask, right? You can ask for anything. You can ask for anything that you want. And when I first started doing it, implementing it in my own life, right, outside of fitness, I was like sheepish, right? So I was told, write everything down. 300 things that you want. And I started a list for things that made me look pretty good, right? But then ultimately, I started to creep and started to ask for material things. And it doesn't matter what you ask for. There's no limit. You have not because you ask not. So you can ask for anything that you want. And man, that list grew and that grew and grew. The whole goal is for you to eventually put it away and come back in a certain time and see what's checked off. And checked off because nothing that you did, nothing that you earned, just that you were given. So for here, those fitness goals belong on it. And it's that mentality that you can ask for anything, you can do anything, and you're not precluded. There's no limiting factors, or there's no limiters on you identifying what you want. It's anything that you want. So with the whole purpose is think big, massive, big. And when you ask, you don't ask for little things. That's all covered. You ask for the big things. So if you're thinking about, I haven't done much fitness. I'm not that much in shape. I have never really done a 5K. Then you're asking for what you want to do. You want to do a 5K, you want to do 10? No, you want to do ultra marathon. You want to run an ultra. That's exactly what you want to do. Because that's exactly what you want to ask for. And what will be given, I think, not necessarily the results per se, but the ability, right? There's dedication. There's certain means, there's certain things that need to come your way. Mindsets, mentalities, to be able to push through. And I think those are the pieces that ultimately are given. And that's how you end up where you're supposed to be, right? And that's how you end up across that finish line doing exactly what you set out to do. And the next is Well, the next concept that I find interesting, is dreams. Right. So here's the notion you have not because you ask not, and you're supposed to ask. But what is a dream? A dream is generally what a preview of what things that you ask for, things that you think about, things that you want, things that you want to obtain. And when does that dream of occur? At night. I think it's important. I think everything's important. Sequence is important because it's all supposed to happen in a specific order. And I think that the fact that a dream occurs at night while you're sleeping is meaningful because it allows you to see what's coming. And then what do? You wake. And then what are you supposed to do? This is just me. You wake and you're supposed to what? Chase. That's exactly right. You're supposed to chase. You're supposed to identify what you want, see what you want, and then wake up and go get it. And that's, for me, the design. Because eventually there will be one day when you and I meet the same fate, that we go to sleep and we don't wake. And when we don't wake up, that means one thing. He is through with you and through with me. But in the meantime, there's something special out there for you. There's these things that you can go ahead and get. There's these things that you can go ahead and work for. And I think ultimately that's what you're supposed to do. That's why you dream. And the purpose of the dream is for you to wake up and go get it. Final verse kind of put it all together as far as my mindset. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. So what does that mean? You can have all the faith in the world. You can ask for certain things. Do exactly what we talk about. You can believe exactly as I said. But nonetheless, there is that work component to it that you have to put in the work. Now, what is that? I'll tell you what mine is. To be in that 1%. I work out every day. Twice a day. Not for the past week, not for the past year, for the past decade. 10 years. And I think that in order for you to be at your best, to be chasing the hardest, there's one thing that you've got to do. You must do. You must win the morning. You must win the darkness. You must win that morning every day. And for me, that is working out at 4 o'clock in the morning, starting at 4 o'clock in the morning. Not moseying out of bed, not setting an alarm, starting 4 o'clock. Means you better be up. You better be up by 3:30. For me, I organize, set up my entire house, right? Work out on the back patio, jump the fence, the trails, for one thing, to start at 4. And that's what I think, that's where it starts at. And if you're not winning in the morning, you're not being the best that you can be. If you're not being the best that you can be, I don't know why you're doing it. I don't get it. It doesn't jive with me. My mentality is to be honest about the situation. Honest about my performance, honest about my effort, honest about all the tasks that go into it, all those teeny pieces of puzzle that all add up and get put into the bowl and mixed around to ultimately produce fitness. And that takes a dose. It takes, a dose of understanding that self-compassion is probably step one. You have to understand that you are enough, that you are worthy, right? You are worthy to get these goals, worthy to do what you want to do, right? And that needs to be ground into your being, into your existence, because that's the one thing that can throw you off under my mindset. Because what I believe is to be absolutely brutally honest with yourself. Brutally honest. How'd you train that day? Poor? Why? Did you make good choices? How'd you eat? How'd you sleep? Were you mentally engaged? Did you check out? Did you do better on the downhill descent? Did you cut it a little short because your quads are burning? Did you kind of walk it up that hill? I know the trail sets that I do. I know the amount of weight that I do, that I stack the weight on, that I cheat myself a rep, that I push myself in the course of a week, in a month, in a year. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm brutally honest with myself, because that's the only way for me to be at peak performance. But it also means that I have to have that underpinning of self-worth, right? That I know in the end, at the very end, that I am worthy, and that I can't ultimately cross that line and to knock myself off that pedestal. So there you have it. Pretty simple, right? If you want to beat cancer, if you want to attack a goal, if you want to do anything that you want to do, Ultimately, you want to just build that mindset where no one can break you and you can do anything that you want. And it's simply understanding that He has grace. Therefore, you are imperfect, yet you'll get things along the way. And what will you get? Exactly what you ask for. Just be patient. And those things can be races, and those things can be fitness goals. But it's going to cost. It's going to take work. And now, what is work? Everybody's got a different standard. That's mine. And I've been doing the same thing for 10 years. And I don't miss a day. And I go hard, and I'm honest with myself. So I ask that you do the same thing. Hold yourself accountable. And if you're not starting at 4, then you might as well not start. Go to the shallow end, and play around in that. I don't even know what that's like. So, need anything else, man? That's how it's done. And for all those that struggle with alcohol, shoot me a DM or whatever you need. But it's the same thing applies. I know this is fitness talk, but it's the same thing. So when I'm talking about asking, what did I ask for? You know what? They said, hey, you have cancer throughout your body. My ask. To live till I was 90. When we're talking about big goals. Live till I was 90. I wasn't playing around. I wasn't trying to ask for another week. Looked pretty bleak at one point, but I wasn't saying, what would be great another week? Another month would be good. 6 months, give me 6. A year, that's pretty decent. Give me a whole year, that'd be great. No, I asked to be 90 years old. That's my ask. Because I can ask for anything. And say, hey, you know what? That's great you lived. I'm excited. Now you have dead bones. It's called this weird thing called avascular necrosis. You're not going to be able to do too much. It's just the cost of doing business. What did I ask for? I asked to race Ironman. Biggest thing I felt like I could do. You know what? If you're telling me I can't do anything, I'm going to do the biggest thing that I can do. I'm going to ask for just that. Do that healthy. Did it. Drinking. What am I going to ask for? Forever. Why? That's the biggest thing you can ask for. The longest thing forever you can ask for is forever. I'm not going to ask for anything shorter. 2 days, a week. Man, you know what? Every day thing done something for a month. Month's pretty good. 6 months is good. A year, you ever done an activity or not done an activity for an entire year? You tried that? Probably feel pretty good about it. You say, you know what? This has been a long time. 6 years. And still going. So it's real. You know what? You may not like how I got here or how I look at it. It is spiritual. I am a believer, but nonetheless, my results speak for themselves. And I've done nothing but this. And man, it's just built this bulletproof mindset where I know for a fact that I can do anything that I want. And I know it's true because I lived it. And that's my story. And nobody can take it from me. So maybe you find some use for it, maybe you don't, but nonetheless, we keep on keeping on, tell you that much.